Hello, everybody. It's me, Lawrence Presman, co-founder of Wager Talk Media, owner of 3 incredible properties, the Gold Sheet Sports Memo, and, of course, the flagship, the monster, the mother of all sports handicapping companies, WagerTalk.com. The professor, newly minted nickname, Ralph Michaels, joining us. And Matt, I need a nickname for you. Can't be mid-major. How are you, Matt?
I'm good. I could just be another guy. I mean, if you want to call me just another guy.
And welcome, everybody. It's Ralph Michaels and Matt, the other guy, Joseph.
What? It is my favorite movie, The Other Guys. That was my favorite movie.
That just cannot be.
All right, guys. Wait. We said we're keeping this to an hour today, so let's talk football.
Oh, you know, Ralph, that's why you're here, bro. But how about we just start with one quick statement from me. Everybody must watch The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. I won't get into it. Ralph wants to talk football, but it is honestly the most important show you will ever watch in your life. It's an hour and 34 minutes long. It's on Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma. Hey, guys, thanks so much for being with us today. Lamaguino, what's happening, my brother? Peter Vitale, the sports group. Terry Edelman lives, sleeps, and breathes Wager Talk. Mappy McMap teasing the NFL. We love having you. What's going on in the show? We're going to start with Ralph doing T&A. Then we're going to take apart every game on the board. We're going to talk a little bit of teasers, Survivor. If there's a moneyline dog we want to bet, and we will end the show with our consensus plays of the week. Ralph, my friend, thank you for being on Wager Talk today. Your stuff was outstanding. We love having you. You're the hardest working man in this company. Talk to me, baby. Week 3 NFL trends and angles.
Well, yeah, these are all going to be week 3 specifics. We're going to start breaking them down more as we get into the season. But let's just blatantly look at 0-2 teams. I mean, these teams are in survival mode. They know if they go 0-3, they're most likely out of the playoffs. Since 2014, straight up, if you just bet 0-2 teams, you're 22-23 with an average line of plus 3.1. So you're almost 500 on a field goal plus dog. Keep that in mind if you want to play some money lines this week. ATS, 29-16, 64.4%. If you want a subset of that, 0-2 teams versus a team that at least has one win. So that's every game, every 0-2 team, with the exception of the Cincinnati-Philadelphia game, which is 0-2. Those 0-2 teams, 24-11, 69%. And if they're a dog of 3.5 or more, guys, 15-4, 79%. So do not be afraid to play 0-2 teams as a dog of 3.5 or more. I mentioned Cincinnati and Philadelphia. Both teams 0-2. It's the desperation bowl. What happens if teams are desperate? I don't know if you guys agree or not. The offense opens up. They have to take a few more chances. Since 2005, when both teams are 0-2 straight up in week number 3, they've gone 69% to the over. When the over-under total has been 46 or less, they've gone 11-3 to the over, 79%. Again, only one game fits the bill. That's Cincinnati and Philadelphia. I was trying to think of some scenarios to fill out this spot. And, you know, week 1 in the NFL is unique. You haven't played a game. Your bodies are rested. You have no travel restrictions because you can go as early as you want. But how about week 3 in the NFL? If you look at week 3 specifically, and you play on a team that was home in week 2, is home again week 3, against a team that traveled week 2, and is also traveling week 3. So a rested home team against a second straight road game. 4 teams fit the bill. Cleveland, the Chargers, the aforementioned Philadelphia Eagles, and Arizona. These teams, home for a second straight game, 24-13, 65% against the spread. And if those home teams are a single-digit home favorite or a dog of 1. So from +1 all the way to -10, 21-6, 78%. Last two things I want to look at. What happens in week 3 if teams won both games as a dog? What happens in week 3 if a team lost both games as a favorite? Sorry, Matt, this is going to be Philadelphia again. But some people don't consider the Rams as a dog both games. Remember, they played Dallas. They played Philadelphia. Both games, they were a dog and a favorite at different times. Both games went through 0. But if you want to consider them a dog, since 2004, it's only happened 12 times. Those dogs, 9-2-1 ATS, 81%. If you want to look at a team that has lost both games as a favorite, Matt, I'm going to call you out on this. Since 1995, so we have 26 years, only 14 teams have lost as a favorite back-to-back games. That's it. In 26 NFL seasons, only 14. Those teams, 8-6 straight up, 8-5-1 against the spread. That, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles.
He's Ralph Michaels. Awesome stuff, Ralph. Just amazing work. You are absolutely on fire like always. Matt, before we get into it, lots of talk in the chat room about what went down on first pitch today. I guess it's must-watch TV.
I sat there. I just sat there. I didn't really say anything. I didn't stoke the fire at all. But yeah, it was. I mean, first pitch is always a watchable show, and there was a little bit of fireworks at the end.
Yeah, and guys, we do so many shows every day that some of them are going to be more entertaining than the others. Well, let's get to it, boys. Let's start Thursday night football. Miami and Jacksonville. Miami is +3, a total of 47.5, but mostly 48s. Really interesting game here. None of us would have expected Jacksonville to be -3 at any point this season, yet here they find themselves on primetime television. Matt, I'm going to go to you first on this. I like Miami here, Matt. You know, if I'm going to get the 3 with a team that fights like Miami does, Ryan Fitzpatrick, a good enough quarterback to get them down the field, I'm going to take the points here, Matt.
I mean, I had the Dolphins last week. I said on the show. It was my free play last week on sportsmemo.com, and thank God Ryan Fitzpatrick is a backdoor. Necessarily be 100% for the Dolphins still, but so far this season he's faced Stephon Gilmore and Tre'Davious White, 2 of the best corners in the league. He's going to have an easier time, I think, in this one. That might give him some more targets, give Mike Gesicki a little bit less targets. I kind of do like Miami in this situation, but I won't be running to the window with it.
Yeah, so pretty much a pass. Like, I'm in the same boat, Ralph. I like Miami, but I'm not going to release it as a play. I don't know how to attack this total, so I'm with Matt completely. It's Miami or pass, more likely a pass.
You know, it's an overreaction game, Prez, and you know, for those every Sunday on my homepage or on Twitter, I put out the circa opening lines, how many spring practices they have, and the NFL schedule with the look-ahead lines. Well, you could have bet Jacksonville and Miami pick last week at the Superbook. Now you're laying 3. So if you want Jacksonville, you are laying 3. You are losing 3 points of value because of the overreaction of last week's games. Jacksonville being tied with Tennessee late, Tennessee having to come down, kick the field goal and win. So I certainly don't want to be on that wrong side of laying a number or losing value because of the overreaction. To me, you know, I'm going to look at the over. Minshew's proven to me he can win, completing 75%. You know, we've seen Miami push the pace, 410 yards against a very good Buffalo defense. We know that scoring is up over 9 points per game over the first 2 weeks of the last 5 years. So I will pass on the side and give a definite lean check mark to the over.
Matt, any props for this game?
I think Devontae Parker could be busy, as I said when I think I was muted before. The first 2 weeks had Stephon Gilmore and Tre'Davious White, two of the best corners in the league. Nobody on Jacksonville's secondary is probably going to match up there, so I probably will look for more Devontae Parker, which means probably less Mike Gesicki, who's absolutely feasted the last couple games.
He's Matt Joseph. You can find him at sportsmemo.com, Ralph Michaels at wagertalk.com, and of course, I'm Lawrence Presman, and you can find me in your worst nightmares. Las Vegas Raiders, New England, -6. Really no respect for this Raiders team based on this line, Matt. I thought it would be lower. I think there's a lot of value on the Raiders here. I like under the total as well. You know, I was on the over against New Orleans. It was my 5% play on Monday, and I expected the Raiders to put up some points. But if you watched the offense closely, they really were dinking and dunking a lot. They had a 9-minute drive in that third quarter. This is a slow-moving team, which is exactly what Gruden wants. New England, awesome secondary, maybe the best in the league. I don't see how this game's going over. I think it's going to be a close game. I am all over the Raiders, and as far as the under goes, that's my top 7 play. It's getting close to being one of my bets that I will release. Talk to me, Matt.
Well, I mean, we all watched that game on Monday night, and I question what New Orleans would have done if they stuck to the run. And they were gashing them up front with a bunch of runs. And then all of a sudden, Sean Payton gets pass happy. We find out about Drew Brees, and that game goes a completely different way. The Saints defense made them look better, but this is a Belichick that takes out your number one thing. Well, when you play the Raiders, you're going to go and you're going to gang the box up against Jacobs, and you're going to double team Waller because you know that Stephon Gilmore, if he doesn't cover Waller, is going to probably end up playing against Ruggs or Edwards, rookies in their own right. So to me, this is the perfect situation for the Patriots who are going to say, look, we know what you do well. The Raiders defense isn't that good. I mean, I think that was more a product of Breeze looking old than the Raiders defense doing a lot on Monday night. To me, this is a New England situation. You're going to ask about props. And here's the thing about New England. We don't know. Like with Cam Newton last week, he threw it 44 times. He ran it 11 times. The week before, he threw it 19 times, rushed it 15 times. So I hate trying to guess what Bill Belichick's going to do on a week-to-week basis. It also depends on if James White is available to play. Thoughts and prayers to James White's family. So to me, Patriots offense should find some success. I just don't know how, and I don't want to guess every week with Belichick.
I get it. And Ralph, before we get into your thoughts on this game, I just want to say that New England had it. They had it against Seattle, and I thought that final play was a very bad play call. I thought everybody and their mother knew Cam was going to run. It was just whether he was going up the middle, to the left, or to the right. I thought a play action would have been much more effective. But hey, I'm not Bill Belichick. I'm just the Prez. What do you like in this game?
I would have liked for Cam Newton to have a wide receiver come behind him and run the ball because the entire defense was going the way Cam Newton went. So a little reverse to the wide receiver, and he would have danced right in. Of course, that's because I was on the Patriots. Now, I'm gonna question something you said, Prez. We got a Patriots team who's 26-10 the last 2 years against a Raiders team that's 11-21. We have a Patriots team at home off a loss against a Raiders team that played their first game. And you think this line is low at 6? I think this line should be higher. I think you're getting a perfect situation for the Patriots. I have New England. You know, New England off a loss, we know what Belichick has a good record. When New England is off a loss and they're laying under 7, they're 12-3. The Raiders have not learned how to win yet. Yes, they are 2-0. But do you know that in the last 6 years, when the Raiders are off back-to-back wins, they're 1-11 ATS. It takes a team to learn how to win and then turn wins into a win streak. There's a couple teams like that are off back-to-back wins. So, you know, I'm looking at this. And I think the line's low, and I think there's value on the Patriots.
Well, listen, hey, that's how it works. Some like them blonde, some like them brunette. I personally like them just female. We're gonna agree to disagree on this one. What about the total, Ralph? Any thoughts under or over?
No, Matt, going back to your point, what's Cam Newton going to do? Well, if they have the lead like they did against Miami, he's going to run the ball. If they're tied or trailing like they are in Seattle, he's going to throw the ball, I think. So, if you think they're going to get the lead to Oakland, I have a question for you because I'm not really into player props. Can you live bet player props or not?
I believe there's one. I believe there's one book you can do that, but it's not widely known. No.
Okay. Matt Joseph, Ralph Michaels joining us. You're watching the NFL Presidential Address. Just want to say hi to everybody. Birdie, nice to see you. M. Black, Pineapple Cook. What do you got for us today? A roasted pineapple, barbecue pineapple, oven-made fried pineapple. I'll take any type of pineapple. I freaking love pineapple. Mappy McMap, best name out there. M. Black, how you doing? Steamy Ray Vaughn, great name, brother. If you guys got any questions, put them in the chat room. I'm looking at them all the time. Here's a game I really love, Ralph. LA Rams, Buffalo. Originally I thought, okay, 5% play on Buffalo. This is a great spot. Rams second game out on the East Coast. They looked really good against Philadelphia. And then I realized, well, man, Buffalo almost didn't get through Miami. Then the game before that, they played the Jets. We really, truly don't know who this Buffalo team is yet. I think it's going to be a big week for them. With all that said, Buffalo's in my top 7. I like them at -2.5. I've got no opinion on the total. It looks to me like you should probably lay off betting Buffalo totals right now. It seems like their offense is going through a little bit of a transition. Their defense doesn't look nearly as strong as they were last year. So I'm going to wait to see who Buffalo is before I jump into unders and overs. But -2.5, Matt, for me, Buffalo, that's my play.
I lean to Buffalo, too. I'll be very interested as we do this show. Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano are their two bigger linebackers, better linebackers. They didn't play last week. And to me, I need at least one of them to be available, A, to cover the tight ends, because we saw what Tyler Higbee did last week to the Eagles, and B, to be available for the run game. Look, this is a Rams team that has committed to the run with Darrell Henderson. Now, Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers both are a little banged up. They also lose their left guard, Joe Noteboom. But to me, I need to see if those linebackers are going to play in this one. Edmonds was really good. I think the stat was that he's the first guy, I believe, who was under the age of 20 or 21 to have led a team in tackles right out of the draft. Because I believe he was 19 and he had over 100 tackles last year for the Bills. So he's really important. Josh Allen, look, I was wrong about him. Josh Allen became the 4th player in NFL history to top 700 yards with at least 6 touchdowns and no interceptions in his first 2 weeks. This is a very good Bills defense with the very good secondary. Tre'Davious White should do a nice job on Robert Woods, which means Cooper Kupp could be available. But to me, I lean to the Bills, but I need to see what these linebacker injuries are and if they're going to play at all.
Those linebackers, crucial to the game of football. Ralph, what do you like in this one?
1990, guys. Matt, you weren't even freaking born, were you?
I was
1990
born.
Was the last time a Bills quarterback threw for 400 yards and had 4 TDs. That was Jim Kelly back then. So times are a-changing in Buffalo. I will say this. Although I lean with the Bills, I'm going to say not so fast with those Buffalo Bills offensive stats. Yes, he's throwing great. And yeah, he's played the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Okay, the two worst teams in the AFC. So let's put that in perspective against now facing this Rams front. The thing I don't like, about the Rams situation, last week, if you watched the show, we talked about the San Francisco 49ers not flying back and forth, and we'll mention that again. The Rams actually are flying back and forth, although Philly and Buffalo are so close, because the laws in New York say if the Rams would have went to Buffalo and stayed, the NFL rules say the only 2 places you could have gone that entire week were the practice field and your hotel. You could not leave your hotel or you could not go anywhere else. That's why the San Francisco 49ers also went to West Virginia to get out of that New York restriction area. So LA did fly back and forth. Now they are 9-1 the last 10 in the Eastern time zone, so they have played well. At least, I'm not too big into that Eastern time zone early start, because times are so different and these guys are getting off these jets. But it is something people want to know. This is a game where I am leaning under. It's hard to say that with the Bills' offense. I think if the game is a lower scoring game in the first half, I think the Bills revert back to what they know. I think if their defense isn't on the field as often as they had to be because the Bills scored quick, anytime you have an offense, you're not going to have the number one defense in the league because if you score quick, your defense is on the field for more plays. Therefore, you give up more yards. So you have to have one of those, top 10 offenses that run the ball a lot to have that top 5 type defense. I got burned last week. I had a 5% play on the Rams in Philadelphia under the total, and they jumped out early and they had some big plays. This Bills defense, much better than the Eagles defense. The Rams traveling back again, playing the toughest defense they faced so far. I am not going to have an opinion on the side because I've gone back and forth, but I will put out an opinion on the under
He's Ralph
in this
Michaels,
game.
Matt Joseph. Guys, love having you all in here. 188 of you watching live, and yet only 24 likes. Let's go, people. Give us those likes. Run the point. Is Koken done crying? Oh, my God, Matt. I'm literally going to have to watch First Pitch as soon as this show ends. Abby Jackson, I know you like the Rams. We disagree, but go with your gut, man. That's especially if this is for entertainment purposes. I am betting $20, $50. Go with your gut. Let's get to the next game, boys. Houston, +4 against Pittsburgh, a total of 45. And I'm going to pass in this game completely, Matt. I do lean on the under, and I lean on Houston. But, man, this Houston team seems to be a mess.
Well, we talked about it during the preseason on this very show, not necessarily this titled show, but on the football preview show about injuries. And already Will Fuller is not 100%. Duke Johnson's not 100%. You look at Deshaun Watson. According to Pro Football Focus, the Texans have allowed 57 pressures in 2 weeks. You take the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have generated 77 pressures in 2 weeks. So this is a bad matchup when it comes to up front. Now, look, it's a short number here, so there's got to be something else baked into it. The Texans are 31st against the run. They're 28th running the ball themselves. You've got Pittsburgh offensive line that's got several injuries. Deontay Johnson, look, last week we talked about Juju Smith-Schuster, the squeaky wheel, how happy he was that Big Ben was back. Well, Deontay Johnson has seen just over 30% of Big Ben's targets, which is second in the NFL among wide receivers. He's got 14 catches for 149 yards and a touchdown. So Deontay Johnson, once again, could be very busy in this matchup. I lean to the Steelers here, but I'll be very interested to see what Ralph thinks because this is a rather short number for, I think, a Steelers team that's rather a lot better than the Texans right now.
Ralph?
You have to look at the Steelers and say, they had a 58-yard edge against the Giants. That's it. You played the Giants and you only had a 58-yard edge. That's not good. And then you look at Denver, they had a 91-yard edge. But if Denver makes that fourth down, all of a sudden Connor doesn't break that 59-yard run and the Steelers have 40 yards rushing and you're worried about what's wrong with their rushing. So you have to take those garbage yards out. Prez, I'm going to ask you a question now. Matt talked about our preseason show. And you made a great point about Houston being a 3-1 dog in their division, despite having the best quarterback in the division, you said, and being the best team coming out of last year. Well, only 8 of 74, so 9% of teams make the playoffs after 0-2. But we know Houston had a historically tough start. No team has ever played back-to-back teams that had a regular season win total of 11 or higher. They played at Kansas City. You only got outgained by 9 yards. Then you played Baltimore. You only outgained by 103 yards. There are going to be a lot of teams in this league that if you play Kansas City and Baltimore back-to-back and you play one of them on the road, you're going to be minus more than 112 yards that they were. So it's not that bad when you look at it. Are you going to take a flyer, Prez, now to bet Houston to win the division with the 0-2 start?
It's a great question, Ralph, and the answer is yes, and I'll tell you why, and it goes with Philadelphia as well. And there's 2 divisions in football that are really bad, and they're one of them. I think Jacksonville is a fun team to watch, but I'm not going to put them in the playoff picture. I think Phillip Rivers is done. But I do think Indianapolis will be chasing a playoff spot. I look at that division and I think to myself, it's such a weak division. They're one game behind. They have yet to play inside of their division. They still control their own destiny. And I still think they're the best team in that division. It's why I lean on Houston today, Ralph. Plus 4 points. There's no reason this won't be a less than 3 game. And Houston, I mean, your stats at 9% 0-2 teams. It's probably 1% 0-3 teams. So Houston is in danger early. I think we're going to get their best effort. Guys, before we get into the next group of pictures of games, I want to just answer Sonny's question. He asks a great question. Prez, what's the theory about teasers not crossing 0? Sonny, I'll give you an answer to that right now, and Ralph and Matt, if you want to jump in. The bottom line is, if you're taking a 6-point teaser and you cross the number 0, 0 doesn't count. So you actually are only getting 5 points instead of 6. You lose a number by crossing 0. It's why most professional bettors will almost never cross 0. Ralph, anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I did look it up once. The numbers aren't that far off, the difference between the ATS numbers and the plus 6-point numbers, which I have on my database. So, but I'm not, even though the numbers are very close to like crossing over the 3 and the 7, the same percentage of wins that you improve, I understand you're losing a point, so I don't waste my time making that argument.
Okay, Ralph, we've got like an amazing promotion going on. $300 and something for 2 months. You want to regale us with this info?
It's simple, guys. We had our lowest special ever when sports restarted the beginning of September, $199 a month. We said we're never going lower than that. Well, I lied. We are going lower than that if you buy a 2-month package. So we've never had a 60-day package at Wager Talker Sports Memo. They're on everyone's site now. People look at $389 and they have some number in their head that they want to spend. Let me break it down into this perspective, Prez. There's 8.6 weeks in a 60-day period. You are paying $44 a week by taking advantage of this special. A 5% play is $40, but by you signing up for the 60-day all-access you're getting over 8 weeks of service for $44 a week. No coupon needed. It's loaded on everyone's page. And if you already have a subscription, let's say you already signed up with Prez for 30 days and you have 6 days left. Don't worry. Buy that package today. Those 60 days get added on to the end of his package. You're going to get full credit for everything you purchased.
Brilliant stuff. Let's get to the next game. San Francisco taking their injury-laden team into New York, playing the Giants. Minus 4.5, a total of 41. Gut reaction right off the bat is I'm leaning on the under in this game. However, 41 is way too low a number in this day and age, so it's pass for me. Matt, as far as the side goes, I got nothing, bro.
I also lean to the under. Of course, I wish I had the magical 42, but I know I'm not going to. And I don't know if I can get to the window on it, but I lean to the Giants, and here's why. You've got a San Francisco team that's already kind of skittish playing on this field. I've already read that George Kittle may be ready, but they're not going to play him potentially because of the field shape, because they swear that the MetLife Field is the reason why they had all these injuries. But you look, no Bosa, no Thomas, no D Ford up front. You look on offense, no Mostert, no Coleman, no Jimmy G, no Weston Richburg, and then there's up that maybe they don't play because they don't trust this field. Now, the only reason why I don't know if I'm going to get there on the Giants is there's no Saquon Barkley. There's no Sterling Shepard. Who's going to do anything for the Giants? This is where, I think you should go nuts on the Darius Slayton props. I think Darius Slayton touchdown, but I think his receptions, his yards, I think Darius Slayton's the guy to target in this game. Nick Mullins actually has better stats than you think. He completed some of his passes in 2018 and was tied for third among NFL quarterbacks at 12.9 yards per completion. He had a bad throw percentage of 13.2, which was the fifth lowest in the league that year. So he's not this stiff off the street. But the question is, who's he going to go to? What's the game plan going to be? Is this a simple, hey, run, let's get out of here, let's go back home so we don't get any more injuries? So to me, I lean to the under, and I lean to the Giants. But then again, I wish Saquon was playing because I don't know who the hell is going to score a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, and yet it's going to be the highest scoring game of the day. It's funny how it works, Ralph. This is a running team, the New York Giants, especially with Barkley in the backfield. Now they don't have him. They're practicing Devontae Freeman, but we don't know what's going on in their backfield, and that actually might open them up, and it's really one of the other reasons that's keeping me off of that under. What do you like in this game?
I don't like anything, but I am going to throw up some points just so people can have some perspective. Remember 2018, Nick Mullins threw the ball 274 times for this 49ers team. He completed 64% of his passes for this 49ers team. So he knows the system well. I do like teams that bond. I talked about this last week. When there's teams that make these road trips, they're staying at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. These teams, these guys who normally go home, deal with business, paying bills, wives, kids, school, none of that's their concern this week. They're getting to stay in West Virginia in a huge resort, and they're bonding, and they're practicing. To me, that is almost an automatic play on. But with that injury list they have, and here's one more point I want to bring up with the Giants. I have no numbers to back this, but this goes back 15, 20 years, college football or the NFL. When your superstar gets hurt, how many times have we seen a team respond and play well that next game? Yeah. Everybody picks up the slack. Everyone knows Barkley's out for the year. To have a backup running back, have the defense pop up big. I've seen it over and over and over, and that's enough to keep me off a game. Now, I hope the Giants look good, do play up to that potential against a very banged-up squad, because I am happy to play against them the week after. Yeah. But I am afraid of that one-week bump when your superstar gets hurt and those other teams, the other players, their level of competition does rise.
Yeah, but Ralph, the same thing could be said for the 49ers as well in this spot.
No. You have a bunch of guys hurt for a game or two. That is so much different than a player, your stud, being out for the year.
That's a good point.
A bunch of injuries are reasons to play against a team. Your superstar, if everyone on your team could say who's your best player and he is out for the year, that is totally different than a bunch of injuries for 1, 2, or
Great
3 weeks.
Stuff. Matt, one of our viewers asks Martin, Jerick McKinnon, should he take him in the fantasy draft this Sunday?
Well, I responded to him in the chat, and I said, in theory, yes, but there's also a lot of talk, and I don't know how serious it is today, that Jeff Wilson could get a lot of run. And to me, they may envision Jerick McKinnon as more as the pass-catching back, and Wilson is more the running back. So if there are McKinnon receptions props, maybe. I'd have to see what they are, if they're like 2.5. But to me, there's some discussion underneath about Jeff Wilson, which would kind of scare me a little bit about taking his rushing props.
Hey, there's two guys who hit the thumbs down button. You guys made a mistake. It's the button slightly to the left of the thumbs down button. So please go back and fix that mistake. And for the rest of you guys, 261 people viewing. Let's go. Give us those 100 likes before this show ends. Please. With that said, this show probably will never end. Tennessee, Minnesota. I know Terry's going to yap in the chat room about this game. 49 is the total, -2.5 to Tennessee. And, I said I like 7 plays. I'm going to whittle it down to 3 to 5 for Sunday. The under in this game is one of those 7, Matt. I get it. I mean, Tennessee, they put up a lot of points against Jacksonville last week. They barely put up any points the week before against Denver. I look at this Tennessee as a slow-moving team, a plodding team, a team that's going to eat clock. And I look at Minnesota as a team that just struggles to score. I'm getting close to 50 in this game. I'm shocked at the number. I am betting the under, and it likely will make my card.
I do agree here. I think I might add it myself, and the reason why I might add it is, look, Derrick Henry's been disappointing this year. With the over/under for his rushing last week was like 115, and he didn't get there, and that was against Jacksonville. To me, the injury to watch is A.J. Brown. He didn't practice this week today for Tennessee, and if he doesn't practice, then I think that means Jonnu Smith gets really busy once again. On the defensive side, we'll have to watch and see what Vic Beasley does. Minnesota's defense already lost Danielle Hunter. Anthony Barr's out for the rest of the season. So their defense, which is already banged up as it is getting more injuries. Thought this was fascinating. Minnesota has run the fewest offensive plays in the league. They've completed 30 of 51 pass attempts for 372 yards, which was the worst mark in the league for teams that have played in 2 games. And their defense has given up the 4th most yards overall. I can't bet the Vikings here. It would be the type of game, I think, if there were fans, I would look at the Vikings. But in an empty stadium, I think I would lean to the Titans. But, yeah, your under seems really nice in this situation.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels so high. Just a quick shout out to my chef. He's on his way over. I don't know if you know this, guys. If you don't watch Wager Talk today, I got a chef. He cooks for me lasagna tonight, Ralph, and it's so good. But the crazy thing is he isn't even making it. Carmine's lasagna. I am a lucky man. Ralph, what do you like in this game?
Well, I took Kirk Cousins over 1 as a quarterback rating for the first 3 quarters, and I lost last week. So Kirk Cousins had a 0 quarterback rating after 3 quarters.
Well,
last week. That's how bad it was.
I still think your bet was good.
But you have one of those situations, 2-0, happy team against an 0-2 desperate team. I am not betting either one on the side. Although you guys both made very good points with the unders. Minnesota did put up 34 points against Green Bay, but they only had 97 yards in the first half when it mattered. Green Bay went into a prevent defense, and then they had 290 yards in the second half, playing multiple touchdowns behind, and those are the numbers you have to look at. It's a very fake 34 points. It's a very fake 382 yards, because if the game were closer, they would have never had that. Tennessee, we know what Tennessee is. Derrick Henry, yes, he has 200 yards after 2 games. That sounds good. But when you're getting 56 carries and you're only rushing for 3.6, we know that's not productive. One Minnesota stat, I'm going to pass. You guys are talking me into the under, but Minnesota, 11-0 the last 11 times they've been at home off a straight-up loss, and Zimmer 16-3-1 in that role. So the traditional Vikings, or the old Vikings, have been dynamite at home off a loss, covering 11 straight and going 16-3-1 the last 20 times.
Great stuff,
occurred.
Guys. Nice to see you all in the chat room. Christian Larson, nice to see you. Chris Hunter, you're always awesome. Let's get to the next game. I had a brain cramp there. I was thinking about my lasagna. So Cleveland -7. It was -6, and I'll tell you flat out why the line moved, Matt. I speak to a lot of people throughout the week. There are a lot of very smart bettors that really like Cleveland in this spot. I'm not one of them. I'm probably not one of the smart bettors either, but I don't like Cleveland in this spot. I think Washington is a better team than people give them credit to be. Do I think they're a playoff team? No. In that division with, Dallas sucking right now, maybe, but I think this game is going to be closer than most think. The total is 45. I'm not going to touch that total, but I do lean on the under. But, Matt, I like Washington here.
I disagree with you. Look, I don't like the Browns. You guys know it. Every shot that Ralph was taking in the Eagles, I was trying to think of something to say about his Browns, but I can't. They have a win. We do not. But the Brandon Sheriff injury is big. And plus, look, Cleveland might be getting back 3 big-time defensive players, Greedy Williams and Kevin Johnson in the secondary, and Mac Wilson at linebacker. And to me, the best play for me is the Washington football team total under. because this is just a miserable offense. If you take out Brandon Sheriff, the Washington offensive line has allowed pressures on 35.1% of their dropbacks, which is third most in the NFL. They've scored 7 points in the first half. They've gone down big in each of their games. Now, look, they beat the Eagles, but they were down big to start in that game, and then they went down big on Arizona. Other than Terry McLaurin, I don't know where's anything coming from. This is another week, though. I'm backing Logan Thomas. I'm taking the over on his receptions. I think you sprinkle a little on him to score because Cleveland's defense against tight ends has been poor. But to me, it's the Washington team total under here. I don't know how they score from week to week, and I think the only way they win games or keep it close is if it's 17-13. If Cleveland gets to 20, 27, whatever, it's over.
The dude.
Hey, Matt, what do you expect? Logan Thomas has had only 8 receptions on 17 targets. So, I mean, is that Haskins not hitting them well, just bad passes, or has he dropped a few?
Well, I was watching the Arizona game, and there was a couple he went right back to him back to back. There was one that was too high and one that was too low. Look, Logan Thomas is a quarterback playing tight end. He's still learning the position. It's just when you're a young quarterback, they rely more on their tight ends. And Terry McLaurin has seen a lot of A-level cornerbacks. And if Greedy Williams or Kevin Johnson plays, I think Terry McLaurin does once again. So to me, those short middle routes that Logan Thomas runs, Haskins feels a little bit more comfortable throwing that ball than he does to the outside of Terry McLaurin.
Guys, the dude, Ralph, one sec. The dude just donated $1.99 to us. We'll take it. Thank you, the dude. And also, do you know my online poker name? Either of you? The answer is no, you don't. My online poker name is not the dude. It's the Lord Dude. Ralph, is that not in keeping with what you said yesterday on Wager Talk today?
Anyway, getting back to football, I think this is the biggest game the Browns have played in 5 years. To get to 1-1, to have the new coaching staff, to get Odell Beckham involved in a deep pass that he got the touchdown. I mean, it doesn't seem like a big deal that being called a touchdown. It was a big deal for Odell Beckham to have that long touchdown pass. I mean, you talked about the Browns getting defenders back. Well, the Washington football team has been sacked 7 times against Philadelphia and Arizona. If the Browns get those defenders back and they can play man-to-man, that leaves the linebacker to be blitzing him, and I think Haskins is in deep trouble. The reason I'm not betting the Browns, my power rating numbers. I have the Browns as 3 points better than Washington. Yeah. I am by no means... those power ratings have a lot of numbers put into them this summer. I'm not going to be overreact because the Browns played well against Cincy. Oh, yeah, by the way, they didn't even cover. They still gave up 353 yards to a rookie quarterback playing his first road game in the NFL and 30 first downs. Granted, it may be injuries. But, guys, if there's games that all of a sudden you love and then you go back and your power rating numbers for this game are far off, 3 points off to the other team, it's just a simple pass for me because I'm not going to, when those two things conflict, it's
He's
an
Ralph Michaels, Matt Joseph with us. Let's get to the next game. Philadelphia hosting Cincinnati, and I was on Philadelphia last week. It was a loser. I still had a winning week, though, so what can you do? But I like him here, Matt. I think Philadelphia, like what Ralph said, 9% of teams at 0-2 make the playoffs. Philadelphia only 1 game back on Washington and Dallas in literal must-win mode. Cincinnati has looked good. They played well last game. They played well in both their games. And I understand Philly is a mess right now, but this is Philadelphia's season. I'll go down with them if they lose. Philly minus 5.5 for me.
So the fan in me tells me that you take the Bengals and you revel in it because the Eagles look horrendous. The defense looks terrible. Jim Schwartz just came out and said he had a horrendous game plan, took all the blame for it. Jalen Reagor's hurt, so now you've got 4 wide receivers out. You've got Deshaun Jackson and a bunch of nobodies at wide receiver. You've got Carson Wentz, who's jittery in the pocket, who actually had time to throw last week and still didn't do much with it, has all the mechanics issues. There's all the people who are doubting him. There's no fans in the stands. There's no home field advantage. And you've got Cincinnati, who's got Geno Atkins and Mike Daniels, who look like they're going to play. Sean Williams, too, at safety, who's really going to help things out. But the chart better says this is the Eagles season, and this is the time where they step up and they win this game and they pressure the rookie quarterback. I'm too much of a fan to say it. I'll let Ralph say it if that's what he's going to eventually say. The one thing I'll say here is Dallas Goedert looks to be the guy that's surpassing Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz looks to be moping over the contract situation. Goddard is open a lot more than Ertz is right now. So I'm looking at Dallas Goedert props on Sunday and praying to God that the Eagles actually win a game for once.
Yeah, Ralph, we saw this with the Eagles last year. They just really couple of games in a row, brutal, and then they get it together and go on a run. Does it begin this Sunday?
I'm watching. I'm like you now, Prez. I'm watching Twitter instead of paying attention to you. Now I know how it feels on the other end. I am going to give a shout out to my favorite woman in the world, wife. And Marco just tweeted out his horse, Sin City Lori, named after his wife, just went worst to first and finished first at the Meadows. So his horse won. Happy birthday, Lori. I am going to talk about this now. I want no part of Cincinnati. Cincinnati's looked good from behind. If you want to play them live, if they get behind again, Joe Burrow's going to toss it around. I want no part of Philly. I think that the line is close. This is another game where, I've said scoring is up 9 points. I said totals over 42 have gone 18, 12, and 1. But I think we're going to have an overreaction. I think these totals are all 2 or 3 points too high because of what's happened the first 2 weeks. And this is another game that I lean the under.
Okay, boys, so I've given up on hoping this show will be an hour long. Please, God, let the bye weeks come soon. There's just too much. And, you guys, the two of you together are so informative. I'm not going to cut this off. It is what it is. Chicago, Atlanta, and, we could speak for an hour on the garbage that happened in Dallas last week. Atlanta completely just lost their mind. And we've seen this over and over and over again, but all the pundits have already spoken about that. It's old news. I like Atlanta here, Matt, and I like them a lot. -3 is the number. I do not believe in this Chicago team at all, and this is one of those scenarios where I don't think there's a defense out there that could keep Atlanta under 20 points. I think we're going to get the points from Atlanta. The problem with Atlanta is their defense and their brain and their coach and a lot of other things, but they can score. And I don't think Chicago can play toe-to-toe with this team at all. Atlanta will make my top 7. They're already in it, a likely play, and a team I will be betting on for sure.
The Falcons are 31st against the pass. Opponents are completing 77.4% of their passes and a passer rating of 124.7. Mitch Trubisky last week had a good stretch. I'm not going to say it was a good game. He had a couple of solid drives. The question is, look, the Falcons' mindset right now has to be like, what the hell is going on here? They win that game against the Cowboys, if not for just letting a ball just sit there. And so in most situations, you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, well, I got to bet against the Falcons because their mindset's not there. But once again, I go back to, do you trust Mitch Trubisky? Do you sit there and say, okay, I trust Mitch Trubisky to go on the road? By the way, only 500 fans at this game. Do I trust Mitch Trubisky to go on the road and get a situation and be fat and happy here where he should be able to find some completions? Allen Robinson should find the end zone in this one. But the question is, can you trust him? I can't trust him. I was going to say that Julio Jones was going to be the squeaky wheel of the week, and he wasn't really squeaking. It's more the fact of you look at Calvin Ridley and what he's done, and then you look at Russell Gage, and everybody's talking about picking him up in fantasy football while everybody's kind of forgetting about Julio Jones. But the talk is that his hamstring issue came out of week 2. Basically, he still has it, and he's still not 100%, so I'm not going to go to him in the props just yet. I could see what you're saying there, Prez, but just how do you come off a loss like that last week against a defense that's pretty good in the Bears and just bounce back like nothing happened?
And Matt, my answer to you really is that we've seen both Philadelphia and Atlanta even last year do that. Look at how Atlanta finished the season after a miserable start. I think Matt Ryan is a veteran, same with Julio Jones, Todd Gurley as well. And also, they're not out of the playoff picture. Their division is obviously tough, but New Orleans lost on Monday night. They're only one game back. I think Atlanta has to put it away and get going, and I just don't believe the Chicago team. Ralph?
Prez, it always pains me to agree with you. But in this case, I guess at some point we're going to have to agree, right? I think Atlanta's going to make my card. You talked about the yards they gave up. Well, who did you play? You played the quarterback who's playing the best in the entire NFL, Russell Wilson. You're playing Dallas with a 20-point lead at the first quarter, 20-point lead at halftime. Of course, you're giving everything up because you're playing prevent defense in the first quarter, allowing them to dink and dunk and complete 75%. On the flip side, you go to the Bears. They got outgained by 63 yards to the Detroit Lions, and then they say, oh, we're going to improve our defense. There's no question our defense is going to get better. Well, they gave up 295 yards to the Giants without Saquon Barkley in there. I mean, that's nothing either. I think Atlanta's on my card. It's going to be a play for me.
There you go, guys. Ralph Michaels, Matt Joseph, and I all like in Atlanta. New York Jets, Indianapolis, -11 now. One of the biggest line moves of the week. The total is 44. The line makers are literally telling us that the New York Jets are not going to put up more than 17 points, give or take. And I believe that. I just don't really believe in Indianapolis enough to cover 11 against anybody. I'm going to pass on this game, Matt, but I do lean. I know I lean on the Jets.
Well, I'll tell you this. Every week almost, I'm taking the team total under on the Jets, and it's 17.5 already. And I don't see them. Crowder's hurt. Perryman's hurt. Chris Hogan's banged up. You've got Chris Herndon, who I liked in the preseason, had a big drop. I think it was for a touchdown. You've got an offensive line that Mekhi Becton's been very impressive at tackle, but Darnold has no time in the pocket. You've got Frank Gore, who's well past his prime, and is not going to be able to do very much. And I don't know how the Jets are going to score. The question is, can you really trust Indianapolis? You know, Malik Hooker being out would be a bigger injury most weeks. But, I mean, with safety like that, I don't know if it's going to affect the Jets. You've got Paris Campbell, who's banged up. Rock Ya-Sin, who was the guy last week who was sick. He didn't have COVID, but he was sick, so he was held out. Jack Doyle's banged up, but Mo Alley Cox, former VCU basketball player, is their tight end. To me, this feels like the Colts are going to win. It's a name-your-score situation. I'm going to load up on Jonathan Taylor again. He got over 20 carries as a rookie. And to me, you know who the squeaky wheel is going to be? It's T.Y. Hilton. He's had some huge drops for the Colts. I feel like they want to get his confidence back. I feel like there could be a deep touchdown pass to T.Y. Hilton in this one. But to me, it's Jets team total under and T.Y. Hilton to score a touchdown in this game.
Guys, before we go to Ralph, I just want to make mention the Jets team total is under 17.5, but the bookmakers feel like they will max out at 17. The reason they do ultimately is that you should always, when betting, look at the line versus the total. The line is 44, so if it ends 27-17, that's what the bookmakers are suggesting, their suggested score, if you will. I'm getting an extra half point, which is a full score. I'm with you, Matt. I think that's a great bet, under 17.5 on the Jets. Ralph Michaels, what do you like?
I'm going to correct you a little bit, Prez. It would actually be the projected score would be 28-16 because you're laying 11.5.
Right. I realized that while I was talking about it before the line move.
No problem. But again, you're talking the Jets. 30 points in 2 games, 32 first downs. You're averaging 3.5 yards per carry. And this Colts defense has done awesome. Yes, you played Jacksonville. Yes, you played Minnesota. But you're still allowing 208 yards per game, 15 first downs. You have 7 sacks. Here's what we don't know. They had a 15-3 lead against Minnesota. They scored 13 points in the second half. We don't know the mentality of Phillip Rivers if they're going to continue to throw the ball or just start handing the ball off in the second half. I think the number is 6.5 for the Colts in the first half. I do like the Colts laying that number in the first half to jump out early and then do what they have to do to hold on. Perhaps the Jets get a backdoor. I'm going to take that backdoor out of play and play the Indianapolis Colts minus the points first half.
Come on, how good is this show? I love that bet, Ralph, and I love your bet as well, Matt. Real quickly, Matt, Christian Larson asks, how do you feel about Miles Sanders' props?
I mean, he should be busy. He got a bunch of carries last week, had the unfortunate fumble. There's not a lot behind him. I would have to see the numbers and I'd have to see if Atkins and Daniels are playing in the middle of that defensive line because those are 2 big pieces that the Bengals have not had against the run this year.
400 guys watching. A lot of you loving. Let's get those likes up, boys. Carolina playing the Chargers. 6.5, 43.5. The Chargers might make my survivor pick. It's going to be between them and Indianapolis. I like them on the money line here. I can't lay the points with this team. This is an outright pass for me, Matt. Go ahead.
If Christian McCaffrey was playing, I'd consider the Panthers.
Well,
after a game like
if
last
Walter
week.
Payton was playing, I'd consider them too.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying. Christian McCaffrey's actually on the Panthers. Walter Payton is unfortunately not with us. But I'm just saying, I don't know who's going to do anything for Carolina. Mike Davis is not Christian McCaffrey. Teddy Bridgewater's been okay. I mean, he hasn't been great. Robbie Anderson's been doing good stuff, and DJ Moore as well. But the Chargers, after a tough game like they had last week against the Chiefs, you would think there's going to be some sort of hangover. This Tyrod story, by the way. I mean, first off, I'm sad as the president of the Tyrod Taylor fan club. And I don't think you're going to get as good of a Justin Herbert as you did last week, because if Justin Herbert starts, there's film on him now. The Chiefs literally did not think and did not know that Herbert was going to start until right before the game began. And so he came out, he played all right, he played well. But to me, the reason why he had the success he did was because the Chiefs didn't think it was coming, and because you get that first game burst, like what Ralph talked about with the Giants after Saquon Barkley gets hurt. So to me, there's a little bit of film now on Herbert. And also Brian Balaga's questionable, and there's a Jenkins on defense is questionable for the Chargers. This one's a pass for me. I really wish that the Panthers were a little healthier, because I probably would have jumped on them in this game.
Ralph, just real quick, shout out to Gale Sayers. Rest in peace. I'm one of the biggest sports memorabilia collectors around. I have a couple of Gale Sayers pieces. Spectacular running back. Rest in peace, good sir. Ralph, how do you like this game going?
Sound like a broken record. I'm going to look at the under. You're looking at Teddy Bridgewater, without Christian McCaffrey for the first time. Robbie Anderson is their leading receiver. After that, you have DJ Moore and you have nobody. Well, we saw what KC could do to Mahomes. The Chargers did to KC and Mahomes. We saw that the offense, I agree with you. A rookie quarterback with no film is one thing. A rookie quarterback now with film is the second thing. And is the way they lost that game? No, absolutely. So I had to look it up in the database to see if the numbers quantified how I think the Chargers feel. So teams that had a halftime lead of 7 points or more and lose in overtime as a dog like they did have only covered 33% their next game. So it does make sense. You had the halftime lead, you lost the halftime lead, you go to overtime, you lose in overtime. That hangover effect does carry over to the next week. I like the under.
Guys, 55 is the total in the Detroit-Arizona game, yet New Orleans and Green Bay are 52.5, and the big boys on Monday night are only 54. No chance I can take the over in this game. Arizona -6. I think Arizona's for real. I got to pass on this game. I'm sorry. Matt, what do you like?
I'll be interested to see what the Lions look like with Kenny Golladay, because he makes that much of a difference in this offense, and it allows Marvin Jones to become the number 2, and it pushes everybody else down a roll. Danny Amendola, all the rest of those guys in the wide receiving core, takes a little bit of pressure off the run game. Maybe Adrian Peterson gets a little more success. We saw Swift and we saw Kerryon Johnson and what they do. I believe in the potential of the Lions offense, but I don't like what I'm hearing out of Detroit already. Reggie Ragland, who came over as a free agent, says the Lions have the problems from the neck up, that they're not exactly thinking well. And this is a losing team that's making losing plays. You also have Matt Patricia this week refuting reports he didn't want Jeffrey Okudah at pick 3 in the NFL, or pick 2, in the NFL draft, whatever it was. And so this is what they're dealing with this week. Last year, this game was the tie. We all remember it. Week 1, The Lions were up 17-3. This game was a 27-27 tie. I was reading a Lions blog that actually compares this Lions defense so far to that winless Lions team, and how the Lions defense is allowing 7.3 yards per attempt right now passing, and they're giving up over 6 yards per carry, and that this defense is terrible. And you've got an Arizona offense that's really hot right now. But for some reason, there's this nagging thing to me that I still believe in the Lions offense. I won't take a side in this game. I'll look at the total. It might be too high, But if Galladay plays, I'll be interested to see what their offense looks like going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm going to attack this total is I'm just going to hope for a slow start, maybe the first 7 minutes, one field goal, and grab the in-game over. But I agree with you, Matt. I still believe in the Lions offense, but taking an over 55 is just not something I'm willing to do. Ralph?
All right. I wasn't not paying attention to you, Matt. I was typing in the database trying to find numbers. Since 2002, there have been 81 games with a total of 55 or higher. They have gone 44, 32, and 5. So 58% of them have gone over the total. So it's not as rare as we think it's been, with that many occurrences. One thing that hasn't changed are the Detroit Lions and their losing mentality. Let's remember, this team has now lost 11 straight games. That wears on a team. You are physically and mentally bothered when your team cannot win a game in that many months. Does that carry over? Absolutely. Again, we've talked about Arizona, and I used them as part of my teaser last week, but I told you I didn't want to back them because they have to learn how to cover games as a touchdown favorite. Well, they did it once. I'm going to wait to make sure they do it again a second time. But I will say this. While Detroit is 0-11 straight up their last 11 games, 1-9-1 ATS, they are 8-3 ATS in the first quarter. They've been tied or had a first quarter lead in 10 of the 11 games they've played. Yeah. And they play a good first quarter, and then they just fall apart. It's an amazing thing that just continues to happen with them. So I want no part of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, and it's been like that regardless of who is coaching them. Matt, you talk about how the trouble is in Detroit's head, and it got me thinking, if Detroit was playing Atlanta, nobody would pick that onside kick up still. A week later.
Or they just keep flipping fourth quarter leads by making boneheaded mistakes.
One of the people in the chat room, Chris Hunter, we love you, Chris. Matt Patricia is a train wreck. Totally different topic and one we can't really get into. But, man, Bill Belichick's coaching tree does not look very good. Parcells and Walsh and Gibbs, they still sit at the highest level. But you got Romeo and Charlie Weiss.
I want to jump in there, Prez.
Go.
That's because Bill Belichick is all-encompassing. He has his hands involved in everything. Those other coaches delegate so coaches learn. You don't learn under Bill Belichick because he is still involved. He overrules you. He'll call the plays where he is always the coach of all those positions. Other coaches mentor their coaches, give them the responsibilities. Belichick doesn't do that. That's why his tree is so poor.
Yeah, it really is amazing.
Vrabel's pretty good, too.
Sorry, Matt?
Vrabel's pretty good. Mike Vrabel's doing a pretty good job in Tennessee.
Well, I was going to point out Vrabel is the only one, and he's such a stud. Tampa Bay, Denver. Tampa Bay -6, a total of 43.5. And I like the under in this game slightly. I like Denver a little bit more, but I'm not going to get to the window on this game at all. Matt, what do you like?
Oh, I really want to get to the window on Denver here. But then when I read their injury list, Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, Phillip Lindsay on offense, Von Miller, Mark Barron, A.J. Boye on defense. It reads like a mash unit, but Tampa Bay hasn't hit their potential yet. And I thought this was interesting because we talked about Rob Gronkowski in the preseason, and I don't want to pat myself on the back yet on the under for the yards. But Bruce Arians came out today and said, quote, "We haven't had that many red zone opportunities, and I don't see him running 40 yards past people anymore. We brought him in to play tight end. If that means no catches, that means no catches," end quote. And so Gronk is not making the effect that we thought, but the thought is that when they get to the red zone, Gronk's going to score. Tampa Bay's skill guys dropped 7 passes on Sunday, accounting for over 100 yards lost on offense. If Denver, and I know we're doing the if thing again, if Denver was even slightly more healthy, I would love to take Denver because I don't think Tampa Bay is good, but they're not great. Their defense isn't great. They still haven't hit their potential yet, but I just can't. Denver's too banged up here. And maybe Ralph has some trends that'll back it up and make me feel a little more comfortable. But to me, it's Denver or nothing.
Ralph?
Matt, I agree with you totally, 100%. Since 2013, Denver as a non-division home dog is 4-0-2. That's great. People going to the Mile High and you're giving points, don't cover. But, Driscoll's 1-7 as a starter. The mash unit, and it's not just the quarterback. If it was just the quarterback, I would deal with it. But with that mash unit, I want no part of laying that with Tampa Bay. We're still learning how much timing Brady needs with these wide receivers before he gets good. I can tell you what, it was scary that Fournette had 100 yards last week, because you start giving Tom Brady play action with Fournette getting 100 yards with his receivers, they could turn into a damn good team in a few weeks when they get their timing down. I don't want to back them, and Denver's too banged up to back them.
Loving the show, boys. Nice to see you guys. Hero, proud Babylonian, gym director, A.B. Jackson. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch this. And any of the new people listening to this show live or on podcast or YouTube, we appreciate it so much. Thank you guys. We will continue to do this, and we will continue to keep it over an hour. Dallas, Seattle. I got to start by, before I even give you my opinion, I want to say this. I think Seattle could win the Super Bowl, Ralph. I think Seattle is a good bet right now in the futures market. I think Russell Wilson is playing at a level that is just, it's unbelievable football. I think Pete Carroll is the coolest coach around. Not that matters, because cool don't make anybody money. With that said, I think Dallas is the play here. I think it's too many points at -4.5, 5, another 55.5 total. I do lean on the over in this game as opposed to in the Arizona game. I won't get to the window, but I do like Dallas to cover, and I like Seattle to win the Super Bowl based on value. Matt?
As an Eagles fan, I hate to say that I lean to Dallas too, but there's some injuries here I want to see. Tyron Smith is, a guy who's very important for that offensive line. He's banged up. DeMarcus Lawrence is important. Chidobe Awuzie, who's is in the secondary for Dallas, is not playing. He's out for a couple weeks, so that's pretty big because the Dallas secondary that's not very good as it is. We watched Calvin Ridley go nuts, so who's to say that DK Metcalf, who's a rising star in this league, doesn't also go nuts? Hint, hint. Maybe you want to look at DK Metcalf props in this game. The Seattle Seahawks have improved greatly against the run. The last 2 years, they've allowed just under 5 yards per carry. This year, they're allowing 3 yards per carry. Of course, you look at the teams that they've gone up against so far, and they're not exactly running teams like Dallas is. You know that Dallas is going to commit to Ezekiel Elliott, and you know that they're going to run it time and time again. I don't think, look, that stadium just doesn't have the same mystique without all the fans there. It's no longer as tough of a road trip, and I don't know, and I'm sure Ralph has numbers for this with regards to the home field advantage, but without fans, Seattle's just another stadium. Now, it's a far trip for Dallas. Seahawks are dead last in passing yards allowed so far this season. I hate to say it, but I lean to Dallas here. I don't know if I'm going to get to the window on it, but I lean to the Cowboys here. I want to see what these injuries happen, but the Cowboys might be the play here.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Ralph?
Well, this is going to be a consensus. I'm going to argue one point, Matt. You said Seattle is playing good run defense, allowing 70 yards per game and 3.0 yards per carry. Well, when you're throwing for 69% and you're throwing for 410 yards a game, why the hell run the ball? I mean, they gave up 434 yards passing to Atlanta. They gave up 397 yards to New England. They've given up 970 yards and 57 first downs in 2 games. I want no part of a favorite that's getting mashed on defense. Dallas gets the confidence off the come from behind win. I like the Cowboys.
There we go. We all agree on that game. Green Bay, New Orleans. Listen, Sunday night and Monday night certainly make up for Thursday night's crapper. This should be a fun game. Green Bay at +3, a total of 52.5. And a real interesting number here. I don't know about New Orleans, Matt. I was telling Teddy on Sunday night, I don't believe in the New Orleans defense. He said they were top 5 in football. He was wrong, at least from 1 week's perspective. I think Green Bay is not as good as they appear, but if I'm going to get the points, I'm likely going to take them. I lean on Green Bay. I wish I could make a bet on the Sunday night game, but I can't. Matt?
So the Packers in week 1 played the Vikings, and they had 3 really young corners, and they took advantage of it. Devontae Adams had, I think, 14 catches for a bazillion yards. The next week they play the Lions, who were without 2 of their top 3 corners, and the guy who was playing was the rookie. And this week they get Marshawn Lattimore, who will cover you off the bus. And I'm assuming that Marshawn Lattimore will literally attach to Devontae Adams the moment the game begins. He will literally stand on the Packers sideline right next to him and follow him when he gets a drink of water. You look at the Packers offensive line: Lindsley, Turner, both banged up a bit. Kenny Clark on defense, Raven Green on defense. We have to see what happens with Michael Thomas, too. I think we learned a little bit about the Saints on Monday with regards to how important Michael Thomas is for this offense. Marcus Davenport's a little banged up for New Orleans. I think this is one of the classic situations where you're as low as possible on a team, and this is when you take them. Because I think the Saints win that game on Monday night if they don't abandon the run. And I'm not just saying that because I had the Latavius Murray prop, and he gets 14 yards. He gets halfway to the prop in the first 2 drives, and then doesn't do anything the rest of the time. But if they keep running the ball on the Raiders, they probably win that game because they probably don't give the Raiders as much time of possession. But for some reason, Sean Payton got away from it. I think everybody in the world is going to take the Packers in this game. I think for me, it's the Saints at home in a situation where they come off an embarrassing, quote-unquote, loss to the Raiders where people are questioning them. Everybody think Breeze has a noodle arm. I think especially if Michael Thomas is back, I'm taking the Saints.
Yeah, and Michael Thomas will be a big deal. He stretches the field and will open up a lot of space for Kamara. Ralph, what do you like?
Packers, since 1989, only 32 years, only the 39th team to have 42 points back-to-back games. Not the first 2 weeks. In any 2 weeks in the NFL, it's only happened 39 times. So that puts it in perspective at how historic it is. It's against the Detroit defense and it's against the Minnesota defense. We know that hasn't been good. I'm with you guys. I am on the Saints. I think they come back off that Oakland loss. And to me, I mean, they are by far the better team on paper. And, Sunday night's different because there's usually Sunday night's the prime game with NBC. Saints are 8-0 ATS on Sunday night. Not really worth bringing up because the fans aren't there, so it's a different perspective. But still in their minds being 1-1, I think it's that big of a game, especially with having watched what the Packers do, putting up 85 points the first 2 games. I think that gives the Saints defense a chip on their shoulder.
If I have a play on Monday night, this will be it. So that'll save you guys listening to the Presidential Address. Buying my play, Kansas City. Let me break this down for you guys. Ralph, who has the best quarterback between Kansas City and Baltimore?
I'm going to guess Kansas City.
Matt, who is the best running back between Kansas City and Baltimore?
Fine, I'll play your game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Ralph, who is the best tight end between Kansas City and Baltimore? And Mark Andrews is really good.
Okay, if you're going to pick out, certain things you want, who has
I
the better
could keep
face
going.
mask? Andy Reid?
I could keep going. Better running back, better quarterback, better wide receiving core, better tight end.
Who has the better running game? Who has the better running game? Who has the better defense?
Okay.
Matt, I'm sticking up for you, buddy.
Why is Matt playing Baltimore? I mean, he might even agree that best pass rusher on the field on Kansas City. I don't understand this line. I like Kansas City air, and not only that, but I think Baltimore, if you will, is the ugly stepchild to the two. In other words, Kansas City are the champs. They don't want to relinquish it. I think they have a bigger chip on their shoulder going into this game than Baltimore does because all everybody hears about is Lamar Jackson. I'm getting a hook.
What are you talking about?
I'm getting a hook. I'm taking my hook. Kansas City.
You are high, dude. Jesus.
Okay, Ralph, you go. Go. I will be quiet.
All right. Patrick Mahomes. Now, let's see. This game's still in September, okay? Patrick Mahomes in September. One of these meaningless stats. 28-0 touchdown to interception ratio. Lifetime. That's not too bad. Teams, we talked about the Chargers having a negative record after trailing at halftime and then losing at halftime. Teams that trailed at halftime, the opposite, and then ended up winning in overtime, like KC did, have gone 7-3. So that does just show you there's no letdown. It's actually a positive. So both sides are what I expected them to be. You know what? I really have not looked at this game much, and I am just going to do the El Paso and see what Matt has to say.
Okay, Matt.
So if we did a draft here of the 4 units, it would go Chiefs offense. 100% agree. Chiefs have the best offense. But then it goes Ravens offense, Ravens defense, Chiefs defense. You can throw on the Chiefs. The Travarius Ward injury is big. Granted, Tavon Young's injury for the Ravens is big too. But to me, I'll go the opposite of what you said. All the Ravens here is Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid. Oh, fogged face mask, big whoop. I'll say this. The special teams is pretty even for a game like this. You got Tucker. You got Harrison Butker. I'm actually looking at field goal props. I know nobody would do that because this game's going to score a bazillion points, but I think there'll be some settling for field goals from 2 of the best kickers in the league. To me, the Ravens are the better team. And last year, they rushed the ball for over 200 yards against the Chiefs. They lost 33-28. Pat Mahomes did what Pat Mahomes does. They're really good as an underdog, the Chiefs are. But to me, I completely disagree with you. I think the Ravens have heard nothing but the Chiefs, and I lean to the Ravens in this one. Now, it may be a money line bet, which I know necessarily you probably will yell at me for, but if it's 3.5 and I could just get the money line and then they win by 1, win by 2, whatever, I might go. I think the Ravens are better than the Chiefs, and you guys know I'm picking them to win the Super Bowl this year, so I'm going with the Ravens.
The pen, Ralph.
Let me just jump in there, Matt. The one thing, if you are going to play the money line, guys, there's sometimes 3.5 could be 160. There's sometimes 3.5 could be 200. So it really depends where you can get that money line because they are independent. You can get some KC money and go down to 3, and if the money line's not betting. So I completely agree with you. I think it's a very smart play for some teams if you have a 3-point favorite and you could get that money line in the 160 range. But sometimes a lot of people are betting that money line and you're paying a premium on that. That's when I would probably maybe split the bet between the two.
Yeah, and Matt, I'm not going to yell at you for picking the money line. I'm going to be betting the money line in this game too. Just not Baltimore.
Just the wrong one. Yeah, just the wrong one.
Side wager?
Tell you what, you guys could both save juice by betting each other.
Shave your head if Baltimore covers?
I struggle finding women with a head full of hair. I'm not going to go bald. No offense to any of the bald viewers or anything.
Well said. Guys, real quick, Survivor, I'm leaning between Indy and the Chargers. Ralph?
No Survivor for
Matt?
me.
I'm going Indy. The Jets are going to be a target frequently for me.
I agree. As for teasers, just tweet them out. Consensus play, guys. We've got 5. Miami, the Bills, mini, under, Atlanta, and Dallas. Let's pick 3 of them. We went 1 and 2 last week. I'm comfortable. My personal choice of the 3, Bills, mini, under, and Atlanta. Ralph?
I like Atlanta 1, Dallas 2, but I'm fine with the ones you said.
Matt?
Yeah, I would throw Dallas in there.
Fine. Which one you want out?
So I would go Atlanta, Dallas, and then the Minnesota. No, I thought we did the Buffalo under.
No, Bills, Atlanta, Dallas, mini, under.
All right, you guys can pick. I want Dallas in there though, and I think Atlanta too.
That's it. I agree with him, Prez. You pick the third.
Okay, Atlanta, the Bills, and Dallas. That's the consensus plays for the Presidential Address Week 3. Guys, I can't thank you enough for your time. Sorry this show ran on. Matt and Ralph are just so good. Make sure to watch Bet On It tonight with Gianni, Kelly, and Marco. We love you all. Check out Wager Talk today with Teddy and I tomorrow. We are out.